You kill your first man at 13. They call it talent. You call it survival. Japan is at war and no one cares who survives. All right, you're Miyamoto Musashi. Japan, somewhere between wars. The year floats around 1584, maybe 1582. No one's sure, not even you. Nobody writes much about the kid swinging sticks in the mud. You're not born noble. You're born loud. Born to a father who smells like sweat and iron. He's a swordsman, Miyamoto Musashi, the kind who teaches with his hands, not his mouth. When he says stance, he means don't fall. When he hits you, you learn quick. Pain is the teacher, steel is the test. The village smells of smoke and damp wood. You sleep on straw, dream about battles you've never seen. Everyone talks about power, the clans, the lords, the endless fighting, but you don't see honor. You see corpses on the road and men dragging them off like garbage. Let me explain something they don't tell you in history books. Peace never really existed. It's just war that's resting. By the time you're 13, you already look like a grown man who's been through 2 bad winters. A travelling swordsman, Arima Kihaya, shows up bragging about his school, his blade, his way. You don't have a way. You just have a stick and a grudge. He calls you a boy. You call him dead. You swing before he even finishes his insult. Wood cracks skull, blood hits dirt, the crowd freezes. And just like that, you've made history. You also just made yourself a target. Life here is simple if you follow the rules. Funny thing, I never met anyone who survived by doing that. Rule number 1, never win too loudly. The world hates anyone who survives better than it expects. After that, you stop sleeping at home. Too many eyes, too many questions. You walk. You don't know where, but walking feels safer than staying. The country's falling into one last giant fight, the Battle of Sekigahara. Everyone's picking sides, you don't really have one. But your father's gone, your family's fading, and every other man is sharpening something, so you go. You don't wear armour, you don't even have a clan banner. You just have 2 blades and a death wish dressed as ambition.
The noise of battle doesn't sound like the stories. It's metal and screams and wet ground. You don't remember who you killed. You remember mud, smoke, a face half gone. Your side loses. That's how you become what they'll later call a Ronin. It means wave man, a nice poetic term for man with no master, no home, no salary. Basically, a stray dog with swords. And now, peace. The Tokugawa shogunate. Everyone smiles about the new order. You're not invited to it. You wander through towns where people close shutters when they see your swords. You eat whatever doesn't run away. You fight whoever asks, because fighting is the only thing you're sure you can still do. Rule number 2, don't starve with pride. A duel for rice is still a duel. Sometimes you win money, sometimes just bruises. You sleep under temples, in forests, beside rivers. You learn how to boil weeds. You learn that sword calluses split when they're cold. And when someone says samurai, you almost laugh, because that word sounds clean and your life isn't. You meet other wanderers, broken men, some too proud to beg, some too scared to fight. They ask if you've got a school. You shrug. You don't teach yet. You're still learning how to stay alive without reason. You duel one after another, old men with reputations, young ones with dreams. You kill some, you let some live. Either way, you keep moving. Let me tell you something. Every time you win, they call it skill. Every time you lose, they call it fate. No one ever calls it what it really is, luck. You start noticing patterns. Everyone swings the same way, predictable, too pretty. You begin fighting differently. Angles, timing, pressure. 2 swords instead of 1. They call it strange. You call it survival. You name it later. Hyoho Niten Ichiryu. But right now, it's just a way to make sure you wake up tomorrow. Your clothes hang loose. Your face looks older than your years. You smell like rain, smoke, and blood. People cross the street when you pass. Rule number 3, keep your blade clean even if your conscience isn't. One night, you stay at a temple. The monk gives you rice, then asks if you regret all the killing. You stare at your bowl. You tell him the truth. You don't remember enough faces to regret them all. The monk nods, says, "That's worse." You agree.
So you keep walking. Your hands ache from practice. You cut air when there's no one left to fight. You chase mastery because what else is there? Love? Family? Peace? Those belong to people who stop. And you can't stop. Because here's the part nobody warned you about. Once you've lived by the sword, you don't know how to live without it. You're not a hero. You're not even a teacher yet. You're a blade with a heartbeat. And Japan, the so-called peaceful Japan, still has work for men like that. All right, you've been walking for years now. No map, no master, just a trail of duels and bad weather. Japan's quiet these days, but it's the kind of quiet that hums under your skin. You start hearing about yourself in places you haven't even been yet. They say you beat 3 men at once. They say you fight like a demon. Funny thing about rumors, they always sound better when you're not the one bleeding. You fought so much you don't remember half their names. Swordsmen, monks, bandits, students who thought your head was a shortcut to fame. They all wanted glory. You just wanted to eat. Let me explain something people forget about peaceful Japan. The Tokugawa peace didn't end killing. It just made it illegal. So the killers put on manners and called it art. You show up to a duel one morning near Kyoto. Your opponent bows, clean robe, expensive steel. You bow back, ragged clothes, cracked scabbard. He thinks this is sport. You think this is breakfast. The duel lasts 10 seconds. He swings like he's performing for the guards. You move like you're slipping past death. He dies polite. You leave before the crowd decides who was wrong. Rule number 4, never linger near a body. Even victory smells like trouble. You travel light. 2 swords, a spare shirt, a few coins, some rice when you can find it. Your feet are blistered, your back bent from sleeping on wood floors. You start teaching yourself to draw faster, shorter distance, smaller movement. Every inch saved is a heartbeat stolen. You meet schools of swordsmanship, proud, decorated, loud. They name techniques like poetry, crimson petal cut, heavenly river flow. You call yours hit first, hit harder.
One of them, the Yoshioka school, doesn't like your attitude. They have fame, numbers, students. You have nothing but your hands and a growing reputation for not dying. So of course they challenge you. First duel, Yoshioka Sejuro, you show up late. Not because you're arrogant, but because you've learned timing ruins men. He's sweating by the time you arrive. You apologize. Then you break his arm. His brother challenges you next. You kill him too. They send the last one, a child, barely grown. You don't want that one, but they insist. So you show up early this time, dozens of them waiting in ambush. You smile, use a wooden sword. They fall like kindling. You leave Kyoto with blood in your hair and the kind of silence that follows monsters. Rule number 5. If they can't beat you, they'll call you dishonorable. Let them. You can't spend honor. You walk for months after that, pretending you're not looking for the next fight. But your hands itch when they rest too long. You carve practice lines into tree trunks until your arms shake. You start fighting with both swords at once, katana and wakizashi. People laugh. You cut through them before they finish. They start calling it the 2 heavens as one style. Sounds holy. It's not. It's just a trick that keeps you alive. You pass through burned villages, rebuilt temples, empty fields. Japan's rebuilding itself, brick by brick, under Tokugawa's shadow. You see soldiers turned bureaucrats, killers turned calligraphers. You wonder what you'll turn into when your hands finally stop shaking. Let me tell you a secret. You never really stop being what war made you. You just learn to hide it better. At night, you sometimes paint. charcoal on wood, just lines, no colour. You tell yourself it's for focus, but maybe you're trying to remember softness. Then you wake up and spar with air until your muscles forget mercy again. One day a merchant offers you food if you'll show his sons your technique. You agree. You swing at the air. The boys flinch at every sound of steel. The merchant claps, says, "You make death look beautiful." You want to laugh, because it's not beautiful. It's just clean.
Rule number 6. Never teach anyone who still thinks the sword is art. They'll die before they understand its work. You hear about the Hosokawa clan down in Kyushu, the kind that pays men like you to stand still and pretend to have wisdom. You head south, slowly. You fight less, but you fight harder when it happens. By now, every challenger wants to be the one who beat Musashi. No one is. On the road, a monk walks beside you for 2 days. Doesn't ask your name, doesn't preach, just says, "You carry death like a prayer." You say, "Everyone prays for something." He laughs once, then he's gone. Your body's changing, scars everywhere, hands swollen, fingers warped. You can't straighten your left thumb anymore. Doesn't matter, it still holds a blade. Rule number 7. Pain is a teacher that never retires. You reach Higo province, hills, rivers, quiet towns pretending not to fear you. The Hosokawa clan offers you shelter, not as a retainer, but as something vaguer, a guest, a curiosity. You take it. You're tired of sleeping with one eye open. They give you a room, tatami floor, a window. You don't know what to do with quiet. You sharpen your blades anyway. For the first time, you eat regularly. Rice, fish, tea. The servants bow. You nod back, awkward. You've forgotten how to be polite. You start painting more. Calligraphy, too. The ink feels like another kind of duel. Brush against emptiness. You like that. The silence it makes. Let me explain something about warriors when the wars end. Some turn to prayer, some to drink. You turned to paper, because paper doesn't bleed. You teach a few students now, young men eager to learn the way. You tell them there's no secret, just endurance. They bow anyway. They want mystery. You give them repetition. Rule number 8. If you ever think you've mastered something, start over. That's when weakness sneaks in. Years pass. Your duels slow down. Your legend speeds up. People you've never met call you the Sword Saint. You roll your eyes at that. Saints don't have nightmares about the people they've cut down. You hear rumors of rebellion, of unrest, of people who still can't handle the peace. You don't join. You're done killing for other people's causes. If death comes now, it should at least be yours.
You start writing. A small book, a handful of scrolls. You call it the Book of 5 Rings. It's not about killing, not really. It's about seeing, about stillness, about being empty enough to move. Your students copy your words like scripture. You shake your head. They'll never understand that it's just notes from a man trying not to rot. Rule number 9. The way of strategy isn't about victory. It's about not disappearing. One night, you walk out to the fields. The air's cold, clean. You draw both swords, move through the forms slowly. There's no opponent. Just you and the space that's been chasing you since you were 13. You feel it, the same calm that used to come right before a duel. Except now there's no blade pointed at you. Just the wind, bowing. And you realize something ugly and true. You miss the fear.
You've lived too long without it, so you keep practicing, not because you want to fight again, but because stopping feels like dying. And here's the part no legend ever mentions. You don't become a master, you just run out of people who can teach you anything new. All right. You've stopped running, but your body never got the message. Every morning you wake up like you're still on the road, hand reaching for a sword that isn't there yet. Old habits are ghosts with muscle memory. You're in Hygo now. Quiet province, steady under Hosokawa rule. They call it peace, you call it waiting. Your room's small. Tatami mats, paper walls thin enough to hear your heartbeat. You sit cross-legged, draw lines of ink that mean nothing to anyone but you. A bird, a tree, a shadow on empty ground. They say you've become an artist. You know better. You're just finding new ways to stay sharp without killing anyone. Rule number 10. When you can't fight the world, train your hands to do something that won't break them. Students come. They bow so low their foreheads scrape the floor. They call you sensei like it's holy. You tell them to stop smiling when they bow. This isn't temple worship, it's survival practice. You show them your way. The two swords, the timing, the distance. They sweat, they fumble. You tell them not to chase strength. Strength is for people afraid to feel small. Chase emptiness instead. It weighs less. They nod like they understand. They don't. Nobody ever does until it's too late.
You teach fewer each year. Not because you want to, but because your hands shake more now. Ink jars rattle when you breathe too hard. You hide it as long as you can. One of your students, Tarao Maganojo, notices. He doesn't ask. He just brings the paper closer when you write. That's loyalty. Quiet. Simple. Heavy. Let me explain something. In this era, loyalty isn't a word. It's how you pour tea for someone when their sword arm starts dying. You start writing down what you know, not for glory, not for students, for you. Because you can feel the end creeping closer. You call it Go-Rin no Sho, the Book of 5 Rings. 5 scrolls: earth, water, fire, wind, void. 5 ways of seeing the world before you leave it. The brush trembles sometimes. You joke that the ink is cold. It's not. It's your blood slowing down. Rule number 11. Write it down before your body forgets what your mind still knows. You write simple. No philosophy, no decoration. Just truths burned into your bones. The way is in training. Timing is everything. Do nothing that is of no use. You don't even realize you're writing scripture. To you, it's just a manual for staying alive inside your own head. Days pass slow. The castle walls echo. The guards practice drills you could do blindfolded. You draw sometimes. Ink sketches of shrikes, bamboo, dead trees. People call them beautiful. You call them quiet. Quiet is all you ever wanted. But now that you have it, it feels like a punishment. You think about the men you killed. Faces blur. Some were boys, some were monsters. Most were just hungry, like you once were. You tell yourself it was the time, not your fault. Then you remember how steady your hands were back then. No, it was you. Always was. Rule number 12. If you start believing your past was necessary, you've already forgiven yourself too easily. Your health slips more each winter. Stomach pains, dizziness. You don't tell anyone. You just train shorter, rest longer. You hate the way sitting still feels like surrender. One morning you wake up and can't lift the katana. The handle slides from your grip like it's tired of you. You laugh once, a dry, bitter sound. You whisper, "Finally." The next day you move out to a cave. You call it Reigen-do Cave.
A monk brings you food. Your students visit, kneel, pretend you're not dying. You keep writing anyway.
Rule number 13. Die busy. It confuses death. You finish the Book of Five Rings. It's just ink and paper now, but you know it'll outlive you. That's the real victory. Not the 60 duels, not the legends. Just words that still breathe when you can't. You start another piece. Dokkodo, The Path of Aloneness. 21 lines, no ornaments. Accept everything just the way it is. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Do not regret what you have done. You read those back and realize you finally said everything that's been grinding in your chest for 60 years. It's not wisdom, it's exhaustion written neatly. Let me tell you something they don't say in ballads. The greatest warriors don't die in battle. They die sitting quietly, still pretending they're afraid. You stare at the cave wall. The air is cold, thin. You trace your old calluses, faded and soft now. You wonder if the world will remember you as a man or a myth. Probably both. Probably neither. Your student kneels beside you. He asks if you want a priest. You say no. You've been talking to silence your whole life. It's the only thing that ever listened. Rule number 14. When you meet death, don't bow. Just look it in the eye like another opponent. You set your swords beside you, katana, wakizaki. You touch each one, not with pride, but with recognition. Old friends, old burdens. You close your eyes. You breathe once, twice. No last words, no drama, just stillness, like the space between two strikes. Outside, wind moves through the cave mouth, a sound like a blade sliding free. You'd like that. And that's it. You're gone. No monument, no funeral song. Just a few students, a stack of papers, and a legend already getting twisted into something you wouldn't recognize. Years later, they'll call you the Sword Saint. They'll build shrines, write stories, paint you as a hero. They'll skip the part about the hunger, the loneliness, the smell of your own blood. But that's how history works. It polishes the edge until it shines too bright to see what it really cut through. And here's the part nobody warned you about. You win the last fight only by losing the need to fight at all. All right, you're gone now. But they won't let you rest. They start saying your name like it's a prayer. Miyamoto Musashi, the man who never lost, the man who fought 60 duels, the man who saw through the sword to the soul. They forget you were also the man who slept under bridges and boiled weeds for dinner.
Your students write about you. They make you cleaner, calmer, wiser. They cut out the shaking hands, the bad temper, the smell. They make you sound like a statue that could talk. And people love statues. They don't argue, they don't bleed. 100 years pass. They draw you in scrolls, eyes sharp, robes neat, perfect posture. You never looked like that. You walked crooked from old injuries. Your hair was half gone. But no one paints truth. They paint comfort. Let me explain something. History loves a tidy ending. It hates the sound of breathing. They quote your book, the Book of Five Rings. Businessmen, generals, even poets read it like scripture. They say things like, know the way broadly, then close the book and go back to their desks. They never smell the iron. They never feel the mud. They don't know what it costs to live by those lines. You laugh, or maybe you just shake your head. You never meant to inspire anyone. You just didn't want your thoughts to rot with you. Now there are schools in your name. Every one of them claims to know your true style. They wave wooden swords and quote your maxims between rehearsed bows. If you showed up, they'd call security. That's the joke, isn't it? You spent your life outside the system, and now you're part of the system's bedtime story. In some stories, you're a monk with a blade. In others, you're a demon who killed for joy. Sometimes you're both. Depends who's selling the book. They never talk about how lonely you were, or how by the end you'd rather draw birds than swing at men. They skip that because it doesn't sound legendary. Generations later, the country changes. Guns come, then bombs, then more guns. People still say your name, even when swords belong behind glass. They call you the last true warrior, as if that's something to envy. If they asked you now, you'd tell them the truth. You weren't chasing glory. You were just trying not to disappear. You'd tell them you weren't wise, you were desperate. Every duel, every cut, every word in that book, all of it was one long conversation with fear. Fear of being forgotten, fear of meaning nothing. And maybe you'd tell them this too. You never found peace. You just got tired enough to stop looking.
Somewhere in a museum, a sword they claim was yours gleams under glass. People lean close, whisper like they're in a shrine. They don't see the hands that held it, cracked, blistered, shaking. They don't hear the nights you spent staring into nothing, wondering if you'd already died a little. They think you found enlightenment. You just found exhaustion that looked like it. But still, your words travel. Across time, across oceans. They find people who feel lost, angry, cornered. People who carry their own kind of blade. Not metal, but something heavier. And when they read you, they see someone who refused to kneel. That's the real part. That's the piece they can't polish away. You stood up, over and over, when the world kept trying to bury you. And even if they get everything else wrong, that part still cuts clean. The story ends the same way it began. A man standing alone, surrounded by noise he didn't ask for. Except now the noise is applause instead of battle. And somehow that feels worse. You wanted to disappear quietly. Instead, you became a brand, a proverb, a ghost people quote to sound brave. If ghosts could talk, you'd probably tell them to stop pretending you were special. You'd tell them anyone can survive long enough to look like a legend if they're willing to lose everything human first. And then you'd smile, just once, that dry, tired kind of smile. The kind that means, well, it could have been worse. Because it always could. And that's your real story. Not the duels, not the art, not the titles. Just a man who never knew when to stop fighting, even when the fighting was over. You lived hard, you died quiet, and the world turned you into a myth because the truth was too ordinary to sell. But if someone asked what it felt like to live as Miyamoto Musashi, you'd say this. It felt like walking alone through the dark, holding two swords, and realizing at the end you were never fighting anyone but yourself.